Welcome to Adventure Freaks, a podcast on living abroad on a budget.
Oh. All right. Well, Heath, thanks so much for joining the podcast today. Heath Miller, my special guest, is from a very special part of the Caribbean. It's called Utila, and Utila is this small little island from Honduras, and it's in the Caribbean. It's well known for the dive culture, and it's one of the world's best dive locations. If you are a scuba diver, you're familiar with Utila. Heath originates from New York City, and he is known on Utila for the resort, the Coral View Beach Resort. He is one of the owners of the Coral View Beach Resort, and he is also the founder of Support Utila, which is a really awesome organization that supports people of Honduras there on the island of Utila. So thanks again, Heath, for being with us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so man, I'll tell you, it's getting cold here, and I'm seeing you in that like tank top, and I'm a little envious.
And it's the Dr. John tank top.
It doesn't get any better than that, man.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you that are tuning into the podcast that aren't familiar with Dr. John was an actual doctor. He was a doctor on the island for a long time. And when he decided that he was done working, he kind of like became like a personality. And like some of it's credited to the, if you come to Utila YouTube video from about like 10 or so years ago. And he just became like this wild, crazy, retired gringo doctor that basically people go to his house and do shots with him and get shirts.
Oh,
and
wow.
People from the mainland, because Honduras, is the mainland as well as the islands, but the mainland are like, love him. Like he's like a local celebrity icon.
Okay, see, no, I'm thinking of a different Dr. John.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but so
you're probably thinking of Dr. John, the musician.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Okay,
it. That's who my dad loves. So Dr. John, he's like this iconic, he's like this iconic doctor on Utila.
Right. Well, now he's not really looked at as a doctor. He's looked at as kind of like a real life meme in a way.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man.
But he's great, and like he's a fun time, and like his house is painted pink. It's got like a big penis statue outside.
Wow.
He's a trip.
And that's right there in Utila.
Yeah, he's right by the animal shelter, Jasper's, which the animal shelter is actually our animal welfare partner. So the money we collect for Support Utila for animal welfare goes to the shelter to help them, because, it's hard to run a shelter here, and they don't turn away animals for people that don't have any money. So they take care of those animals. And, most of their adoptions come from Americans, which is how they really make the bulk of their money. So for the pandemic, they got, practically destroyed, that they probably would have had to close if it wasn't for us. And then even now with new restrictions, it's harder to get animals into the States, but we still are, able to do it. It just takes a lot more time and effort than it used to.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm going to share a map now of Utila so we can show the viewers where it's located. So let me pull this up, and you can kind of explain a little bit about the region. So here's Honduras. It's in Central America, just south of Guatemala, and beautiful La Ceiba. I remember taking the bus to La Ceiba from San Pedro, and then taking the ferry out, and that was just gorgeous. I love that ferry ride out to Utila.
And that's still also a really easy, cost-effective way to get here. Like I always explain to people, are you time conscious or cost conscious? If you're cost conscious, Spirit flies into San Pedro for like $70 sometimes, $50. Like I've seen it as low as like $49 for one way, and then the bus is like $15, and then the ferry is like $30.
Yeah.
So you could literally get here for $120 each way, roughly, if you do that. Or if you're flying to Roatan, it's usually a few $100s more, but a lot quicker, more direct journey.
Yeah, like I can't even remember, but it was like, it was really very cost efficient from San Pedro to La Ceiba. And I spent a night in La Ceiba, and then we just jumped on a ferry the next morning. Super cheap. I can't even remember, but yeah, I imagine it's the price of San Pedro to La Ceiba. You could probably get a ticket, I'm sure, for $25 still, right? I would
15.
Think. $15?
15 for a bus. Private car is about 100.
Yeah, so I mean to jump on a bus, and the buses are those big, comfortable,
Yeah,
large
they're
buses.
most
They're air
most of them are
conditioned.
air conditioned.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so to travel around Honduras is, I mean, incredibly affordable. But then I forget what do you know what the tickets are from La Ceiba to Utila on that ferry now?
It's about $30 each way.
$30. Okay. So, wow. Yeah, that's really, and then you come to this incredible paradise that you live in here. And I just that's where I got certified to scuba dive right there, and it was a true adventure. I But tell us a little bit about now. What is the reef? The reef system is one of the largest in the world as well, right?
Yeah, it's the Mesoamerican Reef,
Uh-huh.
and I think it's the second largest after the Great Barrier Reef, but it's a lot more alive than the Great Barrier Reef is at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
Barrier Reef has had a lot of, coral bleaching and things like that, and our reef is still maintained pretty good health. I mean, there's some areas that have been impacted by environmental changes, but overall, I mean, we're still teeming with marine life, and you do a dive and it spoils you for the rest of the world. Like I got certified here when I was a teenager, and I've dove, everywhere from Australia to the cenotes in Tulum to Queens, New York, and Bronx, New York, which is a very different kind of dive
Yeah. Oh yeah.
because you're doing dry suit there, and it's not as easy or fun. And when I dive down here, I dive with 8 to 10 pounds, depending on if I'm wearing a wetsuit. In a dry suit, I dive with steel instead of aluminum tanks and 28 pounds of weight. So doing a dive like that's a lot more exhausting than
Yeah.
your normal, nice, easy tropical dives.
Yeah. 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 So coming from New York, how did you discover Utila? How did you find it?
So my stepmother is from Utila originally,
Okay.
and then my dad got some land here back in, I guess, the mid 90s. It roughly was probably 94, 95. And then
Yeah.
him and my step uncle built a hotel out down. And I call it, for the last 15 or so years was threatening the family that eventually I'd come down here, take over running it, and fix it up. And no one ever believed me, and then I actually did it. I made the decision to do that December 2019. Came down here for a month to like make sure like it made sense. Did that. Came back at the end of January. Rented out my apartment in the city. Then the pandemic hit, and my flight was on March 17th. The border closed to Honduras on March 15th, and I ended up squatting at my parents' house for 6 months until I got down here in September 2020.
Okay. So you've had access to Honduras and Utila for many years because of your grandmother
Stepmother.
or stepmother. Okay.
Yeah.
And she's
And I,
from, is she Honduran? Is she from Utila?
yeah, she was born on Utila and lived here till I think the late 60s or mid 70s, something like that. And then
Okay.
she
So,
moved to the city and went to college there and became
yeah.
a nurse and met my dad years later.
So now that explain a little bit to the viewers about Utila because who landed in Utila first isn't like the it's not your typical Latino destination, right?
Right. Well, I mean, historically, they say that Christopher Columbus landed in the Bay Islands in like the late 1400s, also possibly before the Americas. Like, there's all, gray areas on the timelines and things like that.
Sure.
But I think he just landed in Guanaja, which is one of the three Bay Islands.
Yes.
And then I guess they bounced around to all of them. And there's all these rumors of like buried treasure and all these other crazy things in the Bay Islands.
Hmm.
So then it bounced around on ownership from Spain to other countries to England to Honduras, and then it ended up staying with Honduras.
Okay.
So so in the 90s, still the majority of the islands spoke English. Now it's probably down to maybe like 70% of the island is like English speaking, and I'd say 50% of probably like native English speakers.
Yeah,
Like,
that
like
was
I don't speak Spanish, and I survive here.
well, there's a strong like English and Dutch group of people that still the people of Utila are of African, it says, and English and Dutch descent.
Right.
So
So from the African side, I think those usually fall into the Garifuna people,
the guy,
as
yep,
well as people that came through, like on my stepmother's end, like her ancestors came through the Cayman Islands.
gotcha. Okay. So you're that probably the English Dutch group.
I would think so, but they probably came through at like one point, being slaves and then got freed and were in Cayman and then came to Utila.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. So tell us a little bit about your Support Utila nonprofit that you started.
Yeah. So when I got stuck in the States, when the pandemic started, I'm like, at first I was like, oh, it'll be a week or two. They're not going to close down a country for a year. So I decided, like I was talking to my step cousin down here and she's like, yeah, no one has COVID here yet, but things are getting weird. Like no one has money really for food because everyone works off tourism. A lot of people are paycheck to paycheck and like everything's closed. So I'm like, all right, I have some nonprofit experience, I'll do a little fundraiser. And the little fundraiser turned into a big fundraiser pretty quickly. And the legal limit for an unincorporated nonprofit is, I believe, $5,000. So after we rose over $5,000, it's like, all right, so I either, pass my time stuck in the States here or I don't. Like, what do I do? I might as well keep the island safe. I got relatives there. I got a hotel there and I can do this and I don't have anything else I could do right now. I used to run concerts. Concert industry was completely shut down. So I just kind of like invested all my time and energy because I couldn't do anything else into just starting and setting up the nonprofit. So we went from nonprofit that didn't exist, in the beginning of March to filing the paperwork the first week of April to being a IRS recognized 501c3 by the end of May.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we did last year was 55,000 pounds of food that we distributed,
Is
all
that
from, donated funds.
across the island?
Yeah, across the island.
Uh-huh.
And there's about 7,000 people-ish that live on the island. I think we've probably served close to 2,000 different people with food last year.
Okay.
And then after tourism started ending, once tourism actually started resuming and people were working again, we stopped really on the food side. But in addition to food last year, we also brought down like a ton of medical supplies. Like I personally flew down with an oxygen machine for the island because the clinic was spending, I think it was like $150 a day, which is a lot of money down here for
Yeah.
people on oxygen tanks when they needed them for people with COVID. I'm like, for $3,000, I can get this oxygen machine. We have funds for it now that have been donated. So I brought down an oxygen machine. So that way they had on-demand oxygen that only costs electric. And also they, won't run out of oxygen because there's always now on-demand oxygen available.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That sounds like a terrific little foundation. Is it
Yeah.
is it
And
still up and
then like,
running or?
yeah, no, like right now, actually, we're in the middle of bringing down a bunch of fire equipment, which should be here hopefully the end of next week once it clears customs, because we're really underserved on the fire equipment side. And we've been working on this for a few months, but even in that window, one of the other islands, Guanaja, had a big fire that I think destroyed like 180 homes or something crazy like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, getting those resources down here is important. And then last year, other things we did, like a friend of mine that I've known since high school, or actually, let me rephrase that. Since he was in high school, I was in college. I was like looking on Instagram. He's a booking agent at UTA, which is a big booking agency. And I was like, I wonder if he's still employed there. And I look and I was like, oh, okay, he's still employed there. And he's like, has something called Play Inspired in his Instagram profile. And I look at that, and it's a charity that he runs, that he started, that provides baseball equipment to teams in the Caribbean. And so I hit him up and I'm like, hey, Ryan, I saw this, blah, blah, blah. He's like, dude, I was supposed to bring this all down to the Dominican Republic. It's sitting in my dad's office. You take it, it's yours. So someone else that was down here, her mom was still in Jersey. I got her mom to go pick it up and drop it off to get shipped down here. And then he had more that when I was back last year in December, I brought it down with me because United was so nice to comp us for bringing down donations. So I really went above and beyond on that one and brought down 33 boxes of donations
Wow.
while traveling solo, which was quite the feat because I was
Yeah.
supposed to Roatan. I get to the airport for my like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. flight, whatever it was, and no one knows what's going on or what to do. And it's also, I'm there at like 4:35 in the morning, whatever it was. So it's like, the skeleton crew.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, basically I got stuck waiting for a supervisor to come in to like approve it because like, I guess the person's like, yeah, there's a note on here, but we can't get this all on this plane. So I ended up getting rerouted to Tegucigalpa instead of Roatan, because at that point there was only one flight a week on United to Roatan,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want to leave all this stuff sitting at the airport, getting lost for a week. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, all right, I'm like, I need this stuff there. I don't know what's in what box. They're depending on this medical stuff that's in here that's mixed in with school supplies, baseball equipment, kids' toys, books, like, the most random assortment of everything and anything I can get, donated.
Yeah.
Because it's like I had this opportunity to bring everything down for no cost. So I'm like, all right, whatever we can get, we'll bring it. So then I ended up having to fly to Tegucigalpa, wait for 2 different planes to come in to get all the stuff there because they couldn't fit it all in one plane. Then I
Mm-hmm.
get a van that takes me to La Ceiba. I stay in La Ceiba overnight. Then I get another van to the ferry. Then I take the ferry, and everything got here in one piece.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
shocked.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's tricky, man. It's been tricky to get around for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I just treated that whole weekend like I was in a real life video game.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So tell the viewers what's really unique and special about Utila. What makes, if people, you're talking to people that have never heard of Utila, you're talking to people that have no concept of even where it's at. What makes Utila special and unique? And why should somebody visit Utila?
Sure. So, I mean, the first thing is Utila is not like a commercial touristy island on that level, like with cruise ships and all that stuff. There's no chains here. There's one franchise here, which is owned by a local. It's a Circle K. So no McDonald's, no Burger Kings, no Best Buy, nothing like that. It's
Oh, but
all blown businesses
yeah.
from a lot of people that lived here, or a lot of people that have moved here, whether they're expats or whether they have Honduran roots. It's all like very much like family businesses.
Hmm.
So, you're dealing with real people and you're dealing with, unique stuff and not like cookie cutter stuff that could be any island anywhere.
Yeah.
So, because, you go to Bermuda, you have a great time. You go to Cozumel, you have a great time. But both of those islands aren't really that unique anymore. And they're both beautiful, and they're both, I would say, more developed on an infrastructure basis by far. But it's any island anywhere at this point.
Yeah.
Utah, on the other hand, I mean, you have, your characters like your Dr. Johns and this guy Webb who makes hot sauce and also sells avocados and sometimes peppers and like whatever else I guess he grows or finds or whatever. And, we got a lot of fun bars here, which, fun bars are everywhere. Yeah, so like the first thing that happens when you get to Utila Ferry, you're landing at the ferry port, and you can go right, and right takes you to like a couple of dive shops, a couple of restaurants, Bando Beach. Going to the left takes you to, again, a bunch of dive shops, a bunch of other hotels, a bunch of other restaurants, and then, coral views kind of at the end of that strip. So like at both ends of the island, you have like 2 different, beachy kind of places.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also like a dock that can take you to this place, Neptune's, which is technically, it's on Utila, but you have to actually take a ferry there. Sorry, not ferry, like a boat there, like
Yeah.
a 10-15-minute boat ride there. There's like a lagoon and a canal that separates it a bit.
Okay.
Like
Now,
unless you can swim really far, you can't get there.
if you describe, and I'm going to put some pictures in here as well, but if you describe like the region and what it looks like and the beaches, how does that appear to people when they first? What does it look like?
So I mean, a lot of the town is paved, but a lot of town is like dirt road also. Like the old airport here in like the 90s to the early 2000s or mid 2000s, I can't remember which year it switched over, was a dirt road airport.
Mm-hmm.
And even the airport now, like there is an airport on Utila, though most people just take the ferry nowadays. It's cheaper and easier unless you're coming from San Pedro to Tegucigalpa.
Mm-hmm.
The airport doesn't have lights on the runway yet.
Yeah.
So you can only land here during the day. And if there's like an emergency that someone has to like land a plane here to get med evacuated to the mainland or something like that, or vice versa, someone has to land here in the middle of the night, you'll have like a bunch of people that will go over to the airport and put on their lights on their like 4-wheelers and their golf carts and their bikes to light up the run.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very much like a community aspect here. Like it's a weird small town with a pretty diverse range of people from everywhere from, we have a lot of German people that live here, a lot of Australians, a lot of people from America, UK, a ton of Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
Lately, there's been like a bunch of like Argentinians here. Like there's areas like we strangely just have weird pockets. Like Australia is like a weird pocket. A lot of Israelis too.
Yeah. Wow. Are they, and these are people that are living there from all over?
Yeah, I mean, some of them like are, here on like a lengthy vacation of like 3 months, or some of them have permanently moved here, or some of them are here on an open-ended stay.
Mm-hmm.
With your like standard like visa when you come into Honduras, they give you 90 days.
Right.
And every 90 days, you basically can do an extension for another 30, or you leave to a non-CA4, which is like the Central American 4 countries that all border each other, for 48 hours, and then you can renew your visa again for 90 days.
Gotcha. But they
So
let you extend for a month every month?
they'll let you extend for a month. Like I've done it twice or 3 times now,
Mm-hmm.
without problem each time. Like this last time I came through, for some reason, they only wanted to give me 2 months instead of 3, but then I did the extension. They gave me another 2 months, no problem.
Yeah, yeah.
And the extension costs $20 a month, so it's not difficult or expensive.
Yeah. When I was there,
And you
when I
can even do it on the internet now. There's a website to renew your visa now. It's amazing. You don't have to go
oh
to someone,
nice.
bring a translator like you used to.
Hey man, the convenience of the web. It's reaching Utila. I remember there was a guy that he owned um, about there was a row of if you get off the ferry and you take a right and you walk down maybe I don't know four I'd say maybe a couple hundred yards. There was a guy named Frank that owned some rentals right on the seaside. His name
Frank
was
Morgan?
I don't even know. I can't remember the name of the place that I stayed in. Do you know the name of his place?
I don't know what his rentals are named actually. Maybe Morgan Apartments, something like that.
So it might
They're
be.
not
It
that great.
was like blue and white. They're blue and white in color.
I'm not sure if those are his, but I mean, the only Frank I know is Frank Morgan, he's actually running for vice mayor with the mayoral candidates that are coming up in the election in 6 days,
Okay.
7 days.
Frank Morgan.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me see if I can pull him up on um, Frank Morgan Utila, and he's running because I'd remember him. Um, I'd remember what he looks like. No, no, that's not him.
I'm not sure which Frank it is then.
No, he was an older gentleman that ran this place. I have it written down somewhere where I stayed, but yeah, and then I went to that really extraordinary place that's got jewels and
Oh, the Jade Seahorse.
yeah, the Jade Seahorse is spectacular too.
Oh,
Does that
that place. And since I've been coming here since I was a kid in the 90s, like I've seen the place evolve over the years. And the guy Neil that built it, he's actually originally from New York. Then he
hmm
lived in San Francisco for many years. He married a woman from down here. I know he's back on the island right now because one of his daughters ate dinner here last night at the hotel. And I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, dad back." I like talking to Neil. He's a funny guy because he's like
Yeah.
old punk rock hippie-ish kind of guy, and I grew up listening to a lot of punk.
Yeah.
So it's like we used to talk about like him seeing Black Flag in the 80s and stuff like that when I'd come down here when I was like 15.
Yeah, well, that's a real special place. It's a unique place, and he turned it into like a little hotel too, where you could stay, and
Yeah.
it's got a little restaurant there, but it's all
Yeah,
it's all covered in jewels and tiles, and it's just
and
super colorful,
and
and the
marbles and like
marbles, and it's a tree fort. You can stay in a tree.
yeah, and like they have the little cabins, and like the restaurant hasn't been open there for some time. I don't know if they're going to reopen it or what exactly, but I used to love going there for like they had great like shakes and things like that. Like that's what I remember going there as a kid, getting
Yeah.
shakes there. Weird Alice in Wonderland feeling place.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's cover the cost of like if just somebody visited the island to go do some diving,
Sure.
how much do they charge per night on the Caribbean side? If you could, you walk out on one of those docks, you hang out on a dock, you're looking at crystal clear water and nice
Well, here,
sunset.
let's, let's talk about Coral View specifically. So at Coral View Beach Resort, the one that I own and run,
Okay.
uh, single person with a room with hot water, private bathroom, shower, AC, all the stuff, as well as breakfast and tax included, starts at 79 a night.
Okay.
So for $80, you're basically waking up in a room that you could be literally swimming in the ocean in under 90 seconds, or sitting on the beach in under 90 seconds,
Mm-hmm. Okay, and
or
that's
drinking on our bar that's literally on the ocean in under 90 seconds.
yeah, yeah. And you include food and everything with that price.
Well, it's just breakfast, and then we have like
Breakfast.
meal upgrades, which I had to reprice a little bit because we just got a brand new chef who is amazing, and like everyone's been ranting and raving about the food.
Mm-hmm.
But the food have gone up for like some of the new dishes, but not really that much. Like just
Mm-hmm.
to give you an idea, you can get our king crab legs now, works out to US, and we're the only place with king crab legs on the island, for under $25 for a
Okay.
big pound and a half of big ass king crab legs.
Yeah.
You can get our lobster mac and cheese is like, I don't know, 17, $18. And those are really the most expensive things.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, like a lot of the dishes are in, the $8 to $15 mark. Like we have
Okay.
these shrimp croquettes that have been a big hit. Those are 150 lempiras, which works out to about $6.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're comparing to somewhere in New York, we're like a quarter the price.
Yeah,
If
of
you're comparing
course.
to most of America, we're probably about half the price on average.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So the
even
core,
compa-
and that's at the core.
and even comparing us to Roatan, we're probably roughly half to, on a high end, 2/3 of the price of Roatan.
Mm-hmm. So that's called the Coral View Beach Resort.
Yes.
Okay.
And the bar is called Reef Bar. The dive shop is just the Coral View Beach Resort Dive Center. And I'm still trying to pick a restaurant name. That's been my ongoing struggle because I want to pick something that works well for both English and Spanish speakers.
Yeah, yeah.
So at one point, like, I wanted to call the bar Half Shell. But my fiance, who's bilingual, pointed out that, well, people here don't do their H's well. And I know that because my name is Heath, and I'm often called Heath.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't want people going, oh, I want to go to the Half Shell,
Yeah.
because that doesn't sound well.
Oh, okay. Well, is
So
she
that's how.
helping you? Is she coming up with an idea? Is she making
I
any?
mean, we try to drink at night and spitball ideas, and we haven't the perfect one yet.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Uh,
So then what does it cost if you want to do some diving through
so now, if you're not certified, you got to start
yes.
with either doing a Discover Scuba class, which is kind of like a trial of like, okay, you get one day, you do a shallow water dive, and that's $100. If you want to do, your normal full certification, we charge $325, and that's about
Okay.
the average on the island. There's a couple places that charge, I think, only $289.
Okay.
Places that charge, I think, closer to $500, but $325 is pretty much the average range.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
There are some places that'll give you like can you clear her off for me? I'm on an interview. Sorry. Our cat, Donia, who's in charge of making sure we don't have any rodents, has decided
nice.
to up on a table in the restaurant.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay,
she knows the place.
so it's still, and you probably include a few dives with that after they're certified?
Yeah, so usually it's like 1 or 2 fun dives included, depending on the timing.
Mm-hmm.
Also a really good location for shore dives, where basically like that's the quickest way you can go diving here once you're certified, is doing a shore dive here, because you could literally be from your room. Basically, if you have your gear ready to go, you could be diving in like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you your gear the night before, you could be literally in the water diving in under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're not wearing a wetsuit, because I'd say putting on the wetsuit adds a minute.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't even remember the name, but the place that I got certified at, all these guys were just everybody was getting high every night at this dive shop, and then they'd take you out, and these guys were nuts. They were
I won't. I'm not going to name names, but I believe that's the one that's like about $289 a night, and that's why it's $289 a night.
Yeah, it was wild, man. I mean, the one guy's going, it's like my first day diving, and the guy was like going, we're going in a cave. And he took a group of us
Yeah.
down in this cave, and our, the tank was rubbing up on top of the cave, and there were some people kind of freaking out because, and I thought, whoa, seems to be something that you'd want to have a little bit of experience, and especially if anybody's claustrophobic, that'd be a little
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
like we definitely don't take a new diver on a cave dive or on a penetrative wreck dive. Like you can
Yeah,
do you can do the top of a wreck, But if you're
Yeah.
going in a wreck, like you're getting a course. Like, I'm certified for wreck diving, so I can go into a wreck dive. But like a new diver shouldn't be going into a cave or a wreck.
Yeah, no, that was my heart was racing, man, but it was exhilarating, and I don't have a big fear of diving or water like some other people do, and so it was okay for me, but I was thinking, wow, these guys are wild. These guys are wild that are running this place, but I really enjoyed it. I had a great time with those guys and really had a blast, and it was a super experience for me. So, but there was if you talk about some of those other apartments, some of the young people that are coming there, some of the backpackers, what can they get a place for a night
So
for?
like if you want
Some of
if you want to do like a hostel style backpack room, you can get something for around $20 a day.
okay, so
That's
they're
usually you're sharing with like 8 people. You might not have hot water. You probably don't have an AC. You might have a fan. And then you can get an apartment rental down here. And not like a fancy apartment, but apartment rentals start at like $250 a month,
okay.
which is, like nothing coming from New York, where it's like an apartment could cost you $250 a day in New York.
Yeah. How far are those apartments from the ocean?
Usually the ones for 250 are not close to the ocean. They're usually up more like by the area they call like the bush and things like that. But you could find some, by the ocean for I think around like 350 range,
So can you
like
walk?
as a starting price. And
Yeah, so
yeah,
you can walk to the beaches and the ocean and
I
to the
mean,
dive shop.
no matter where you are, a beach is always you know, within probably a 30-minute walk.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
And there's
So
definitely a lot of people here that like get an apartment near, Main Street or close enough that they could walk over, and they just kind of stick to their general area. But also, if you're not going to be down here for a lengthy time, if you're just taking tuk-tuks, which are like the three-wheeled taxis,
yeah.
most of the island you get to for like $2 each way.
Okay. So taxis are incredibly affordable.
Yes.
$2 transportation. Nice.
And they charge it on a per person basis, not a per car basis.
Yeah. Now, Heath, if you wanted to get like a nice apartment, are there any nice apartments there that you can stay in that you get like a balcony and you have a view of the ocean and the
Yeah. So
Caribbean and
the nicer stuff I think is like about 500 and up. There's houses that could be anywhere from like 650 for a nice house, for like it's probably 650 is a starting point for the nicer houses, up to around 1,000 a month.
okay.
So like there's like an apartment by us, or sorry, like a townhouse by us that I think they go for 1,200 a month. They're pretty nice, or 1,500 a month, and they're really nice. And they have like a backup generator and things like that, because this is the Caribbean. Salt is in the air. Things rust and things break. I joke that Utila is one of the few places in the world that plastic rusts.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
The plastic
Okay.
doesn't really rust, but rust will get like, from the breeze and from the stuff, like you'll get, rust looking stuff on plastic.
Yeah. So okay, so you can get a nice place for 500 a month with a view, an apartment or a house for 650 and up.
Yeah, it starts thinking that range. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really affordable. Now, as far as
Yeah.
like I remember when I was there, I would go to these open barbecues that somebody would have down the road
Oh,
at a
you're talking about
house.
hog fry, right?
Well, yeah, well, they had like wahoo or red snapper or whatever they'd catch for the day, and they'd barbecue it, and they'd give you rice and beans and salad and plantains and a nice slab of fish, and it was like 550 at these
Yeah.
barbecues when I was there. Do they still do that?
I haven't seen too many fish barbecues recently, but we're also in rainy season. But you'll see like a lot of people do like a hog fry, which is like basically they buy a pig, butcher it, and they fry up the skin to make chicharron, and they fry up pieces of the hog, and you get a piece of the hog, you get the chicharron. You usually get like either like a potato salad or breadfruit or something like that, and rice and maybe beans also.
Okay. Yeah. So all right. So
And
they're
then yeah,
still doing the barbecue.
those are anywhere from like $6 to $8 a plate usually, and like it's filling. Like you know,
Mm,
they're the $8 ones usually that can feed 2 people, and then a good
yeah.
amount of people sell like bayadas on the streets and pupusas, and a couple guys do tacos now. Like
Mm,
you want to come down here on the cheap. I mean, you could live for not including your rent, but you can live off $5 to $10 a day for food and a drink. Like if you had to live off $5 a day here, you can.
Yeah. I remember. I mean, it's really affordable down there in Honduras. The okay. So can you purchase real estate down there?
Yeah, you can purchase real estate down here, no problem. My dad's American and he did.
Okay. And what's the going rate for like a nice house down there?
Let me see what's available right now. 'Cause real estate's been going pretty, well down here. It's
Yeah,
been a lot of.
what are you looking on when you search for it?
So there's two main real estate people on the island. One is Brad Ryan, he's been on the the Caribbean retirement show. What is it? Caribbean Life, a bunch of times, and then Julie Shig, and then there's a couple other realtors. Those are probably like the two big ones on the island.
Okay.
So if you want a house that's already built out, like a good to go house, as of right now, I'm just looking at ones that are available. I mean, you can get like a nice big 3-bedroom, 2-bath, beautiful house built to like American standards, for like the 500,000 point and up. If you want something smaller and less expensive, actually, well, the Villa Rocas are available right now. I know that's supposed to be really nice. That's down to 359. And then other things that are more smaller, houses. I see one here for a 3-bed, 2-bath that's not as fancy for $240. That's right, $240,000.
And that's US, 240 US.
But then here's like one right down the street from us, the Hummingbird House at Blue Bayou, because we're in the Blue Bayou area. That's a 1-bed, 1-bath, smaller house for $120,000.
And these are all US currency?
Yeah, and then here's another one, the Hills on La Loma. This is a 1-bed, 1-bath for $98,000.
Okay.
Here's another one, the Lagoon House. I think this is one you have to take a boat to. But this one's listed for $59,000. And that's a 1-bed also, I believe. That one might need a little work.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. No, it looks like it's just because there's no road access that you have to take a boat. I guess that's why that's cheap. And the house has about 700 square feet of living space and a 420 square feet of deck space with a large balcony.
Yeah.
So for 60 grand, you could retire down here and have 1,100 feet basically at your disposal.
Yeah.
In New York, that gets you a parking space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, comparing it to, you can't really compare real estate to New York. New York's so unique in our country. It's so expensive compared to everywhere else. It's unreal. But yeah, that's okay. So that's very affordable. And is it complicated to buy stuff there? Do you need?
No, you get a lawyer. It's not that complicated.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And then there's a good amount of like plots of land available. Like the bigger land plots that are beachfront tend to be more expensive. Like there's right now a 1.71 acre beachfront lot at Squanish Bay listed for $250,000. And then like once you get away from the beach, I'm seeing like a lot of land here for, actually that one's sold. I'm trying to find a non-beachfront lot to give you an example. Like, yeah, here's like Coconut Cove on the almost beachfront, but not on the beachfront. That's $50,000. I don't know what size that plot is, but you could find like inland plots, like at Swanix Ridge, for example, for smaller inland lots for $17,000.
Yeah. Are you living right on the beach, or are you?
Yeah. So right now, me and my fiance, we stay at the hotel. We were in a hotel room for a while, and then my aunt and uncle, like we have a house on the property, but my aunt and uncle that used to run the hotel are still in the house. So when they were here, we were staying in a hotel room. Now that they're away, we're in the house.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I could wake up and literally be swimming in because this is at the back of our property, probably like 3 minutes or less. I could be swimming.
Yeah. Do you guys ever get concerned about like hurricanes coming through or like sea level rising and
without a doubt. I mean, I was here last year for both tropical storms. Actually, one of them was a year ago tomorrow. And I was actually talking with my fiance. It was around this week. And like I was looking at my photo memories. And I was like, oh, this is the anniversary of me saving my little cousin's life, who like, she's only like 7, 8 years old or whatever. So she doesn't even realize yet, because she had her appendix burst on a Sunday here. And I got her airlifted. I laid out the money to get her off the island to the mainland, to get her surgery. And if I didn't do that, and she had to like wait for like her mom to find money to borrow from someone else to get her off the island, that's when the tropical storm hit.
Oh, wow.
So no planes were getting off the island then. So like, thank God, I was just like, all right, I got money on it. Just get her to the hospital. You know, she would have died from her appendix being burst.
Yeah.
And like, I had like breakfast with her that day, and I thought like she's just like mini pancakes for the first couple hours. And I was like, wait, no, you have a fever now, and blah, blah. And we took her to the clinic on the island, and they're like, yeah, we think it's, I'm like, I think it's her appendix. And I'm not a doctor or anything like that. I just, you know, it seemed like the right symptoms. And we got her off the island in the nick of time. Because that week, you know, like, I mean, we had a little damage to the hotel, but it was mostly things I was planning on replacing or repairing anyway. So like, I didn't really lose sleep over it.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Wow. Well, that leads into my next question about healthcare. So, like, if people do live on Utila and something happens, there's an emergency. Is that the only way to leave the island? Is by copter or plane?
I mean, it's plane boat or copter. Yeah.
So they don't have a
Um,
hospital there or any kind of clinic,
well, we
medical?
do. Well, no, we do have medical clinics, and they have, you know, the ability to do like some basic things. They can diagnose, but they're, you know, they're not doing an appendicitis surgery.
Gotcha.
Have, you know, an optometrist on the island. There's a dentist on the island. I don't think the optometrist is full time. Actually, I think there's like 3 dentists on the island now,
Yeah, yeah.
and I've gone to them, and they're pretty good.
Yeah. What about people that like, like drownings, or you pull somebody out that got pulled out in some kind of a rip current, or somebody has a stroke or a heart attack? Are there places, are there emergency services on the island
But
for people
there
like?
is a hyperbolic chamber for like someone if they get like nitrous narcosis, where they're
Yes.
diving,
Yep.
the bends, things like that. If someone's drowning, I mean, we have some of the resources here for that, for oxygen and things like that. I mean, you don't get surgery if you're drowning. So
Sure. Yeah.
so on the heart attack side, yeah, you're going to the mainland, whether it's Saba, San Pedro, or Tagus, depending on your hospital needs. Like Saba is the closest major city.
Hmm.
Even Roatan doesn't have like a full-fledged hospital yet.
Yeah. Okay. So people have to typically if get airlifted out if they have some kind of
Yeah,
a.
yeah. If it's a major issue that you got to get out now, you're usually going on a plane.
Okay. What's the cost of something like that when you got to pay for that?
If you need a private charter right now, depends on which plane's available and, you know, the winds and everything like that. Probably starting around $300 to $400.
Okay. To get you on the mainland and to get you into
Right.
the hospital. Okay. And then what would healthcare be? I mean, how do they charge people for healthcare? Is it pay out of pocket? Are there plans offered to
Um,
expats that are living there? Or?
you can get expat plans through other providers in the States. I don't know really how it works directly locally. I just have my US healthcare still now. Um, Honduras itself, I don't know if there's any real like internal healthcare, but healthcare here isn't really that expensive when you compare it to the US.
Hmm.
Like, I'm trying to think of like a reference point. Like here, like if I go to the clinic here, like I'm not usually spending any more than $80.
Hmm.
But a lot of things at the clinic, it's like, okay, you went in, it's $40, which it's like, oh, this is the same as my copay in New York.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. What do
And like,
people, go
and
ahead.
like, you know, for a lot of the medicines, you don't really need a prescription. You just go into a pharmacy and you could buy it. So if you're like, all right, I know I have strep throat, I need amoxicillin, you can just go in and get amoxicillin.
Yeah. You don't need a prescription like you do here in the States.
Yeah, like it's funny. Like I could walk in somewhere and I can get like, not that I, you know, I'm purchasing either one, but I could get like amoxicillin, Viagra, and a painkiller.
Yeah. And that's something. Yeah. That's the difference in living in Latin America than up here. Many places where you have access to a lot of meds that are over the counter in those countries and they aren't here. They're carefully regulated. Um, but yeah. So what do you guys do for entertainment there? I mean, what do you do for fun, and what does that cost? What does that cost per month?
I mean, diving is a big thing for daytime. There's also like obviously the beach. There's the Utila Chocolate Factory, which is fun to go to. If you go to the Utila Chocolate Factory, you'll buy some chocolate, maybe get some ice cream. $5 to $10. You could also go to Water Key, which is like one of the keys of Utila, and it's basically a little island that has nothing on it except for sand and trees. So people go there. People do boat trips to Cayos Cachinos also. People go kayaking, which we rent kayaks for like $8 to $10, depending on if it's a single or a double. There's not too many jet skis on Utila, to my understanding. A lot of boats that you could rent, like if you want to go boating for the day, if you want to go fishing, like fishing's really popular down here.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a tournament that was down here between us and Roatan, and people catching, big marlins and stuff like that. Like I went with me and my fiance, we went fishing a few weeks ago, and we caught a big barracuda. We caught a couple small fish that were released. I don't remember what they were. We caught a shark even.
Oh, wow.
We released the shark, but we reeled in a shark, and I have pictures of us petting this shark. It was a silky shark. He wasn't violent. He was just chilling.
Yeah. Was it pretty big or small?
It was probably around the size of me.
Oh, okay. So good size.
Yeah. I'm only 5'6", but this shark had to be at least 5 feet long.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, this is crazy. I'm petting a shark.
Yeah.
Snorkeling is popular too. And then like a lot of the bars, like will have, like theme nights, like some do karaoke nights or trivia nights. I want to start doing some like movie nights here. I just want to get a really big screen and projector and put it in the backyard here.
Nice.
We have 2 pools at the hotel, so people come here just to swim and chill. Like one of them's what I call the big pool, and the other one's the drinking pool, because you're deep and there's a bench across the back that's perfect for drinking height.
Yeah. Nice. Very nice. So as far as like talk about the diving in Utila, have there ever been like any issues with like any attacks, people getting bit by shark or barracuda or any?
Not to my knowledge. I did meet one guy that got attacked by a shark in Roatan once, but he was working for, I think, Discovery or National Geographic, and they were, doing like a shark thing, and like I think it was basically them being, too invasive into the sharks and like purposely going like right up to the sharks and things like that.
Yeah.
Other than that, like I don't really normally see sharks here, period. Like that was like, the sharks don't really bother the divers, and even the sharks here aren't violent sharks.
Yeah. And how is the reef, the coral reef doing there now? I know that when I was on Roatan that they damaged some of the coral reef so that the cruise ships could access Roatan. So
we don't have cruise ships, so we don't really have that problem. Like once in a while we'll see a cruise ship that'll like anchor out deep and then use like one of the little boats to bring people over, but that's a rarity too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Let's see other fun things. There's some like nightlife. Like there's a bar called Tranquil that's really popular, and then there's this guy that used to run Sun Jam that does like a party once in a while. That'll be like a late night, borderline rave, but not really a rave, but like kind of a rave.
Yeah.
Just an all night dance party basically.
Yeah. Do you do any of that stuff, Heath?
I haven't done any all night raves here yet or anything like that. Like I've gone to his parties. Like he had one last night. Me, my fiance, and her dad all went. But like I come also from a music and nightlife background of running concerts at Webster Hall in New York. So I want to when I do it, I want to do it in a bigger way. Like I've been having some like preliminary conversations of doing some kind of different, cooler stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
At night, you have some bars that play Latin, you have some bars that play electronic, you have some bars that just play, a general mix of music. I try to do a little more of a diverse range of stuff here, and not really many people play hip hop down here at the bar, so I try to mix in some hip hop. I keep thinking we should do a hip hop night, or one thing that's popular in the States right now is like the versus nights. So it'd be like Taylor Swift versus Olivia Rodriguez, and like the whole night's just playing music like that. I've thought about, maybe I should do a Beyonce versus Rihanna night, because like things like that do well, and it's cross cultural.
Yeah.
Like I try to be pretty inclusive here when we do things, that we're not like, okay, this is a white people only thing, or this is a Spanish people only thing. It's like, okay, this is accessible for everyone.
Yeah. It's a
Well,
great approach.
yeah, I mean, another thing that's popular here also, besides obviously diving and snorkeling and all like the water activities, a lot of people go hiking. There's Pumpkin Hill, which is the highest point on the island, and that's free to do. And Utila basically was, created from Pumpkin Hill's volcano millions of years ago, or hundreds of thousands of years ago, whatever it was. I don't know the year. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not millions, probably like 5,000 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Bud, I think we pretty much covered everything. Now, it seems like if you really break down some of these numbers, I mean, you could. It sounds like anybody could go and live in Utila for easily under $1,000 a month. You could do it easily for 1,500 moving into a house. What are
Yeah,
utility? We didn't talk utilities. What do utilities cost down there?
the utilities are the bane of me. So electricity is expensive.
It is okay.
So right now, electricity is 11 lempiras a kilowatt, which is about 44 cents a kilowatt,
Okay. What is that per month?
which depends. Um, for a smaller property, you're probably spending at least $100 a month on electric.
Okay. So 100 on you got 100 on electric. How about water? Do you got to pay for water?
For us at the hotel, we're on rainwater and well water, so my water cost is just running a pump when I need to pump from the well when we haven't had enough rain. For other people, there's town water, and I don't think it's expensive at all.
Okay.
But all the apartments, come with running water.
Right. And let's go 350 for an apartment if you're going to rent per month.
Yeah,
We'll say that groceries per month. You said that's nothing. It's really affordable, the food, right?
it depends on what you want. I mean, if you're sticking to simpler things like rice, beans, and like, chicken and pork and things like that, and like local fish, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah. What would you say for a month for a person? Guys like us.
Well, guys like us, I mean, are we getting a little fancier on the groceries? Are we, getting things imported, like imported cheeses? Bacon actually is expensive on the island, like things
Yeah.
like that. But eggs are cheap. Like eggs,
Yeah.
you're looking at,
I'm really like when I go to a
egg like that.
place, yeah, I eat the typical food when I go to a place. So, I would probably buy, eggs and rice and beans and
I'd say if you're cooking for yourself, you can get by for $3 to $4 a day.
hmm Okay.
You're not eating like a king at that point. I think, eating decently, you're at least at $10 a day. But that's
Okay.
still, nothing compared to what I'm used to in New York.
Yeah. Okay. So anywhere from about 150 bucks a month on
Yeah.
that. And then
I'd say like for a single person not eating fancy, 150 bucks a month is like a safe number that you're
okay.
not struggling. You're fine. You got milk, you got eggs, you got some veggies and some fruits.
And then
And then,
transportation
so transportation. I
per
mean, you could
month.
rent. I mean, if you're gonna rent a car, I think you could rent like a scooter for around 200 to 300 a month. Most people just buy something. I mean, you can get a scooter pretty inexpensively here. The golf carts and the four-wheelers tend to be a little more expensive.
hmm
Um, other things also people do here on the ocean side, lionfish hunting is, encouraged and popular because the lionfish is a evasive species.
hmm
So keeping them off the reef. Looking for whale sharks, which are whales, not sharks, is popular. Um, I'm trying to think of, I'm missing a couple activities that are popular here also. What am I forgetting? I mean, we do have a movie theater here. I don't really know exactly what's going on there with it usually, because they're not like open like a ton during the pandemic. I think they are only open for like private events right now. That's not like a big fancy movie theater, but it's something.
hmm
Like now that like how easy it is to have a big flat screen TV. I mean, do we really need to go to movie theaters anymore?
Yeah, true. I mean, with Netflix and everything, I mean, it's pretty nice to stay home and have some popcorn and binge, right? That's
Yeah.
that's the new thing. How much is if you're going to go out and have a few drinks and go to some of the pubs and bars locally, what do you spend a month on that?
It depends on how much you drink and eat. So beers start at about $2 each at a bar.
Okay. Okay.
And then food can range anywhere from on the lower end places, probably like $4 for an entree to, on the highest end, $30. But most of the stuff I'd say is in like the $8 to $15 mark, $8 to $20 mark.
Okay.
So pretty inexpensive, because we're talking like fresh fish from the ocean.
Sure. Yeah.
Like
Okay.
I'd say probably the average entree is probably between $8 and $12.
Okay. And then getting back to transportation, you were saying that there's these what are they, moto taxis or something that they take you back?
Yeah, the tuk-tuks. Those charge 40
Tuk-tuk.
lempiras each, which is a little less than $2.
So you can pretty much get by, from what I recall, walking, and if you have to go any long distance, you could just jump on one of the tuk-tuks, I'm sure.
Exactly. Like
So
a lot of people are like, oh, I want to rent a golf cart. I'm like, you're going to rent a golf cart short term. It's going to be like $55 a day. You could just spend $2 a lot of times and, have it be easier and cheaper and not have to worry about where.
Okay. So transportation is relatively very cheap on Utila.
Yeah. I mean, it's a small island.
It's a very small island. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, when you put all that together with the electric and the entertainment, and you're still well below $1,000, believe it or not. And that's going with a 350 apartment rental, which makes Utila really it's so beautiful there. It's such a gorgeous place, crystal clear water, great beaches, and access to and dive shops on every corner. I mean, it's a spectacular place to experience, and I mean, just the affordability of it.
And there's really something for every budget range. Like if you're a backpacker and you want to spend $20 a day with almost everything, or $30 a day with almost everything except for your diving, you can. Like diving, the average price for a dive is around like 35 to 40 for a 2-tank dive trip. So you'll spend like 70 to $80 to go out on a boat with 2 tanks and a dive master.
Yeah. That's great. Well, that's pretty much all I have. Heath, do you have anything else you'd like to share that we didn't cover that you can think of about Utila or?
Sure. I mean, if you're interested in learning about the Coral View Beach Resort, our website is coralviewutila.com. And we're also on Instagram, obviously, and Facebook with the same handle, just Coral View Utila. If you're interested in support Utila and you want to make a donation, it's tax deductible for us US people, and it's supportutila.org. And Utila is spelled Utila. Aside from that, I'd say a lot of people hear rumors that Honduras is very dangerous. I'm 5'6" and I weigh about 140 pounds, and I've not had ever a problem. I've never felt unsafe or in danger. And I've been on the island. I've been on the mainland. I've driven from, Tegucigalpa with a driver to Los Iba without issue. I've gone from San Pedro to Copan, the ruins in Honduras, and the hot springs without any issue. For the most part, any of the crime you hear about in Honduras is usually, honestly, gang related, from gang member to gang member on, the drug trade that, is a problem throughout Central America and Mexico. You hear very little about crime, particularly on the islands. Usually if there is crime, it's petty theft, and it's usually a local to a local or someone fighting over a girl.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Heath, and especially covering the safety aspect, because I found the same thing. I mean, I've been all over Central America, and I've traveled by bus. I've jumped on some of those chicken buses to go from one country to the next, and I've never had an issue. And you and I are about the same size. I'm slightly taller, but we're about the same. And I've never ever had an issue. And I think that there's a lot of misinformation. You're right, and which drives a narrative that's really incorrect with a lot of people. But Heath Miller,
and people here also know, like, their livelihood is based on tourists. So like no one really messes with the tourists because they need the tourists to live.
Sure. Yeah. All right, man. Well, Heath, man, thanks so much for doing this and sharing all of your the information about Utila and your journey, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm happy to help, and hope to see you and your listeners down here soon.
Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to put all of your information from at the end of this podcast, so that anybody that wants to find you and book a a week or so at the Coral View Beach Resort, they can. And if anybody needs any information, we'll also include the Support Utila organization. If anybody wants to donate that, we'll include that. And any other information you want to add, we'll include to the end of this podcast.
Oh, perfect. Oh, besides that, flight-wise, United flies here to Roatan directly through Houston. Delta flies through Atlantic directly, and American flies through Miami directly. And then there's, I think, Sun something that flies through, I think, like Milwaukee. And then United just added a flight from Colorado directly also to Roatan. So it's getting easier to get here, and it's an easy flight. Like I fly from New York, I do the connection through Houston or Miami, and I'm here same day. Get off on Roatan, you take a quick taxi to the ferry, and you're good to go.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's good to hear. All right, buddy. Well, thanks so much, man, and have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you.
Yep.
And you as well.
Yep, and hopefully I'll see you one day when I head back down to Utila.
Please, where are you now, by the way?
I'm just south of DC on the East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not far from New York City. I get up there every now and then.
No, I've been to the DC area a bunch of times. So
yeah,
I'm assuming you're in Maryland then, right?
We're just below. We used to live in Alexandria, and now we're down. We're south of Alexandria.
All right.
So, yeah, man, in Virginia, it's a beautiful state.
Nice.
All right, buddy.
Well, you enjoy your cold weather. I'm gonna keep rocking this tank top.
Thanks, sir. You have a great day.
Thanks. You too.